And obviously playing in the NFL, that's not a normal paycheck for somebody just out of college. It's a pretty good paycheck, and obviously you're a financial advisor now trying to help people make their better decisions with their money because retirement's a lot. Retirement is a lot, and especially in today's world, it's not unusual to have a 30-year retirement. You retire at 65, well, there's a great chance if you're married, there's a great chance one of you's going to hit 95. So the retirement length is longer. And one of the things that I liked in reading all this stuff about you and knowing you from playing in the NFL is the fact that, when something happens, because I think it's like 67% of all bankruptcies are caused by medical bills because we didn't have a plan. Well, because of how your career ended in Arrowhead with the Chiefs, kind of a catastrophic knee injury, then because your thing was, okay, I've got to be ready in case my career ends at any point. Now you talk to retirees about the unexpected happening, and your Retirement of Steel book is through your Steeler time, Retirement of Steel. That's on the website, MitchLyonsWealth.com. There's also the Retirement Deception film. I want to talk about those two, but your ending of your football career is kind of one of the reasons, the way you approach the retirement planning. Be ready for the unexpected, but let's enjoy the time we've got.
Oh, that's absolutely right. And, a lot of people think retirement planning comes down to just their investment management, right? Their 401k, their IRAs that maybe they've accumulated over time, changing jobs and whatnot. And yes, that's a big part of it. You have to have assets, obviously, to create income in retirement, but so many things, like you said, can go wrong, right? Either preceding retirement or during retirement in terms of, like you said, health issues, long-term care issues, market volatility, as we've all experienced, over the years. The market's been pretty good of late, but, we all lived through the lost decade of 2002, 2009, right? When S&P 500 had a negative 0.1% return over a 10-year period. So, you have to plan for the unexpected, or else you're going to get caught with your pants down. And that is not where you want to be in retirement, because you're done with the accumulation. Now it's time to start distributing. And part of that, the first step is protecting what you've accumulated.
Let's talk about your family. I know when you grew up, I read your website. Your website's phenomenal. MitchLyonsWealth.com. You'll see his book on there, Retirement of Steel, the film, the Retirement Deception. They're all there. You can go to that website and you can get all those things. But I think one of the cool things, because you played in the NFL for 7 years, but you went to Michigan State as well. But growing up, you said that you talked about your mom worked 2 jobs. You saw how hard it was, and boy, money's tight. Talk about that. And that's probably why you're a financial advisor today. You kind of veered into this lane.
Well, yeah, my childhood, while I have a lot of great memories of my childhood, if I'm being honest, a big part of my childhood was financial stress that I saw my parents going through. And, when I say that, I don't say it lightheartedly. I mean, we had times when a car repossessed, lights turned off. Eventually, my parents were evicted from our home as I was coming back to what I thought was going to be my summer after my freshman year in college. So there was a lot of stress, that I saw exhibited in their marriage, and so it impacted me, obviously. And I never want to put my family in that position. I saw my mom have to try to keep things going when my parents split up for a time, and then later, divorced. But working 2 jobs, and my brother having to leave basketball practice early to go pick her up because we were down a vehicle, those kind of things. So those leave a mark, and the embarrassment, the shame I felt in some respect. I don't ever want to put my family in that position, and I want to help people not be in that position. I know what it feels like. I want to help. There are things we can do. Can't help everybody. Like you said, if people call in, if we can't help you, if you're in a good spot, I'm going to let you know that. If you've got a trusted advisor that's doing the right thing by you, I'm going to let you know that. But it's worth, a checkup, a free checkup, so to speak, and get that validation that, yeah, you are on track and you're doing a great job. Stick with your plan. But if not, we can help people. And that just, quite frankly, makes me feel good. And that's why we do what we do.
So from that upbringing, and now you're probably a pretty hard worker too. I'm thinking going to Michigan State time. Did you beat Michigan?
We beat them only 1 year, but it was a great year. It was 1990. They were ranked number 1, and we went down to Ann Arbor and we beat them on the last play of the game. They scored at the end. They went for 2 to win it. Back then there was no overtime, so they went for 2 to win it to try to keep their number 1 ranking. And there was a controversial play. Michigan State fans will tell you Eddie Brown made a great pass breakup. Michigan fans will tell you he interfered with Desmond Howard. So, but it was an amazing game. But yeah, hey, I worked hard to get to Michigan State because, again, not having money in the family, I didn't think I was going to college unless I earned a college scholarship. So from an early age, I was committed. That was my goal. I had a series of steps. I wanted to play varsity as a sophomore. I wanted to make all conference and all state. So I was pretty regimented. And my high school coach always had this sign up on the weight room. And it said, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So that was embedded. I think, I think of that often, even today, my old coach Sukup. And, so that was something that worked out. And then I got to Michigan State and I had this old crusty football veteran, George Perlis, as a head coach who had coached for the Pittsburgh Steelers during all those 70s years when they were winning the Super Bowl. And he coached the Steel Curtain, right? We talk about retirement of Steel, but that all really comes from my days with George and hearing the history of Pittsburgh. And then later on going to be able to play for the Steelers with people that were there when George coached there. It was kind of a full circle moment and kind of a neat time in my life.
So when you think of because you're drafted in the 6th round by the Falcons in 1993. So you go to Atlanta, you play there for 4 years, go to Pittsburgh after that for 3. How much different is there in organizations? Because I'm sure there's a different feel. Atlanta to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, of course, you're there in the 90s, and it wasn't long after you had the Mean Joe Green and that incredible Bradshaw, Swan, the incredible players of the Steelers had. The Falcons, I don't know, who was there? Was Michael Vick there?
Jerry Glanville drafted me. The
so
belt buckle,
cowboy hat
wearing,
boots,
wearing all black, racing trucks in the off season. Jerry was a lot of fun when you were winning games. Unfortunately, I started off 0-5 that rookie year. So Deion Sanders was on the team, but he was playing baseball still with the Braves. They lost in the playoffs, and our 6th game was a Thursday night game against the Los Angeles Rams, and the Braves lost on Tuesday, and the paper the next day was, will Deion play for the Falcons? And I'm like, no way, he hasn't even been to a practice. How's he going to play? I show up in the locker room that night, and boom, I see his uniform all laid out in the shape of a man in front of his locker room, in front of his locker in the locker room. And I said, well, I guess he's playing. And that was just something our equipment manager always did. Our assistant equipment manager always did for him. They had been together back at Florida State, and he always would lay out the uniform like that. So Deion came in, he played that night. We won 6 of 7 games. And Jerry Glanville was hilarious. He was a lot of fun when you're winning games. All we had to do was win our last 3 games against the 3 worst records in the NFL, and we controlled our own destiny. We'd make the playoffs. We lost every one. Jerry got fired, and that was the end of that. So he's famous for saying the NFL stands for not for long if you keep making calls like that. Well, not for long if you don't win games, unfortunately.